so stupid. Oh God. Okay, let's return to.
I was going to say Memoirs of Alhambra. I'm like, no, that's not the show. Okay, Alchemy of Souls.
Hi, we are.
NoonaTalk.
I'm Zara, and we're back with a new episode of Kdrama and Kflop.
I'm Sophia, and if you haven't guessed what we're watching today, it's Alchemy of Souls. Woo. But before
But
that,
before,
we are NoonaTalk, a podcast that talks about K-pop, K-drama, K-culture, K-beauty, K-food, everything about being a K-stan, especially if you're a Desi stan. But it's okay if you're not too. And K-drama, you can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts. And you can follow us on Instagram for all our fun updates. And today we are doing an episode of K drama or K flop where we watch a K drama for the first time. We just watch the first episode and then we decide whether we want to continue watching it. Is it a K drama or is it so trash that we will not continue watching it? It's a K flop. So we're watching Alchemy of Souls today, which is a really popular K-drama. Like this
oh
has
my
been,
God, yeah.
it came out last year. Yeah, it super popped off, and when they did the season finale, everyone was like, "Oh my god, we need the second season!" And the second season came back within a month because it was so in demand. So I
Mm.
think we should check it. But do you watch a lot of fantasy K-dramas? Like, is that your vibe?
I feel like I've never seen a fantasy K drama. I think Goblin was probably the only one I did. And if you go
Hmm.
back and watch that episode, while I did really enjoy the first episode, after that everything was very downhill for me. So I am a little
Hmm.
nervous going into this K drama or K flop episode. Not going to lie, yeah.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
it's
I've
really
seen
strange because I love
Kingdom.
Lord of the Rings and I really enjoyed Harry Potter when it was like a thing.
But like I think fantasy K dramas have a different vibe. Like I've seen Kingdom and I think that was one of the best made because I think it had no elements of a K drama. Like it was just about killing the zombies and the zombie attack. Like there was no like romance, drama, comedy, like none of that. Oh yeah, so Alchemy of Souls, the Netflix description says that a powerful sorceress in a blind woman's body encounters a man from a prestigious family who wants her to help change his destiny. But yeah, let's watch the show and find out what we think.
Our opinions. Okay, bye. That was a long episode.
I mean, that's a given. So it starts with, okay, and this is gonna have spoilers. So if you don't want
Yes,
spoilers, I don't
spoiler
care.
alert.
It doesn't matter.
Blanket spoiler alert.
But yeah, so we start with a woman who's trying to save her son by baiting some poor people to her son, whose the son is dead. The soul needs another soul to thrive, and then this like magician comes and says, "No, you can't do that." And he
Your
like
son
puts
is
the
out of
son's
control.
dead body in this, yeah, the ring of fire, and then the son tries to kill the mother itself. Like he tries to take her soul, and the magician like uses his magical sword with like some inscription on it to fight that, and the dead body dies.
It turns into rock.
And then he turns into rock, and then they throw it in a lake. And
Yeah.
then the king calls the dude, and he's like,
Swap
let's switch
bodies with
bodies
you.
because I'm really sick. And he's like, we'll do it only for a week. And
And
I'm
also,
like,
I have
bro,
no
you're not
air.
doing it for a week. Whatever. He was like, I have no air, मेरी body खराब है, like life sucks, blah blah blah, and you can switch souls, so let's switch souls for a week. Like we've all read Princess and the Pauper, and once you're in a place of like chill life, you don't go back, okay?
That's true. That is
But
true.
yeah, but the magician was stupid, and then he switches souls, and the first thing the dude does is like screw that guy's wife.
And also, the way he shows up, he's like, you
Man,
are truly beautiful.
like hey baby girl,
And
like
then
what's
he leaves a
poppin'?
note for the magician being like, even whatever child comes from this is going to be mine, okay?
So he basically does that, and then so when you switch souls, you get this like blue dot in your heart, like यहाँ पे दिल के
Above
ऊपर.
your heart,
That's how
yeah.
you know you switched. And then we go 20 years later, where we get this like ice Game of Thrones war scene between a girl and like these 50 dudes, and there's like ice bending and fire bending and water bending.
And energy bending.
But she almost dies, but before dying, she switches her body into the blind girl, which was what we read in the description. But the girl's not blind, or was she blind?
And I'm
I
not
don't know.
sure. So she could have been blind, and because they switched, and like original person wasn't blind, so like maybe that's why.
But then, when the magician and the king switch, shouldn't the magician's
Oh
good
yeah,
health
then yeah, that's
have
true. That's
gone to the
true.
king as well?
So then she must have not been blind, and she must have just been faking it.
Or it's plot hole?
Maybe. Maybe. Then we basically follow this adventure of this blind but not blind girl who's got the assassin body in her, in an attempt to get back to her original body. Like that's what it feels
Hmm.
like the next steps
So
are. She
can
gets
she get
sold
back to
into,
her original body?
she wants to get back to her original. She doesn't get it because the body's been stolen
Hmm.
now. And then there's a lot of like
Hmm.
side characters that get introduced throughout. So she had
No,
some
but it's
like,
a revenge plot, right? Because like the
yeah,
main
it is
people, the
some
king and
revenge plot.
everyone, huh.
It is some revenge plot, and like it's they've hinted at the main leader of the, I don't know, area being responsible for her family's death. Like that's
No,
what it
so
feels
there are
like.
four of them. There are four leaders, right? Like
No, no, they're
spring,
not four
summer,
leaders, they're
four
four
houses.
important magician families' children. But like
Mm-hmm.
the park dude is the main head dude. Like that's what
Young dude, you mean? So all of the four houses represent the four
seasons.
uh, seasons. So spring, summer, winter, fall, and winter is the guy who was born out of wedlock when the king switched bodies with the magician. The magician or whatever king, I don't know what do we call him. The dude who's now alive because the original magician in the king's body dies, so only
Died.
the king in the magician body remains. And he basically had a kid, ran away and blocked the kid from performing any magic, and
Mm.
no, and he also went on some killing rampage, so all the other magicians are afraid of teaching his son. They're afraid of unblocking his son's magic, and the son is like, but I want to learn.
Yeah. And
And
the first episode ends with the main girl, the assassin girl, Naksu, being recognized as
hmm,
the master for the king magician's child. This is a
yeah.
terrible synopsis. I mean, if you've managed to
I think
like
it was
follow,
great.
if you've managed to follow, then congratulations. Okay,
I think
let's
it was a
do
great synopsis, and we save your time because this was an hour's worth of crap that we
that. Is
summarized
true.
into
That is
like
very
five
true.
minutes.
Oh, but we forgot to mention one thing. There is an emerging love triangle because there is a
Oh
bachpan ka
yeah.
pyar scene
Yeah, so
with
one
the main
of the
assassin.
other magician's sons was in love with the original sorcerer's body, bachpan mein, and he gave her a gift, and then she dies, and he finds the gift with her, and then he keeps thinking about her, and
Mm.
she recognizes him, but obviously he doesn't because she's now switched bodies. So
Mm.
and it's always like she and the other guy, Jang Uk, are like in the situation, and the other guy will like pass by, and you're like,
Mm.
oh, purana pyar.
Okay, very quick initial thought.
I thought it was super entertaining. I know you hated it, but I thought like I thought that it was like Mirchi Masala, not too serious. Action was very bad. CGI was like zarurat nahi hai, but I get it. It's expensive, and if you don't have the budget, you can't nail it. But it was like those Shaolin movies, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon type, like hawa mein ud rahe hain, sword nikal rahi hai.
Mm.
Like there was a lot of that, and when maybe 15 years ago, that looked very cool, but now it doesn't. Now we are just like laughing, and it felt funny, but not because they were being funny.
Yeah. I feel okay, I didn't hate it. I think initially
Hmm.
I was very annoyed with it because I think they jumped through, there was no backing to the plot. Like things just kept happening. And there was a lot of dependency on CGI and like effects instead of
Bad
story.
CGI.
But like I think I just really was annoyed by the pacing of it. And I think they but like by the end it did definitely get a lot better, or maybe I just like got
Hmm.
used to it. Um,
Stockholm syndrome.
yeah, I was trapped. What a like
Hmm.
a pro. or something that you really enjoyed about the show so far?
I think I agree with you. Where like initially it's like ho kya raha hai? Like what is the tone? Because we couldn't catch the tone. Is it a fantasy? Is it a drama? Are we serious? Are we scared for our life? Are we laughing? Is this a romance? Like पता नहीं चल रहा था कहाँ जा रहा है. But I think by the end, where you reach the point where he's like, "Oh, you're my master," and like he looks into her eyes. Because initially, when we see it, where he's like, "Oh, your eyes are so beautiful," and she's like, "Oh, is he in love with me?" And that's why she keeps bringing it up.
The pro for me was the beautiful clothes, honestly. Like
Hmm.
it was all very dramatic and very billowy, and all of them were very well styled throughout. It is for reasons that I do not understand, still somehow set in Joseon Dynasty. It's a
So it's not.
fictional country.
It's a fictional version of the Joseon dynasty.
So
Mhm.
that's something I enjoyed. What's a con for you? Or like
The acting. It was so bad. Like it was like the subtle acting, and then there's just like director ne bola eyebrow raise karo, so like you're just like, and just the main two people. I think everyone else was fine. Whatever they
were
were,
they
it wasn't
fine,
like
or did we only have them on the screen for like 7 seconds so you couldn't
whatever.
tell?
Like nobody was like horrifying, but I think the main two leads were just so like it didn't match the vibe. Okay, like
Mm. A con for me, I think you've already like referenced it, but the vibe was changing so fast,
yeah.
constantly. Like they'd be like tiki 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 music, and then they'd be like haha jokes jokes, and they'll be like, oh what a great joke, I have to take revenge on my family. And it's like immediately the tone is switching. Like there is no pause. Like they don't even take a breath to have that
Transition नहीं हो
switch.
रहा.
Yeah, and it
Hmm.
happened really quickly, really fast between like he's
Yeah.
like, and suddenly they're like romance, and he's like, but actually I wanted to be my master, but actually here is action. And then like a lot of really like action music would happen in the background while no action was happening.
The music was so off, okay? Like, why is rock music or like 80s synth pop playing in your Joseon Dynasty fantasy K drama? Like,
It
it
was
makes
so strange.
zero sense.
It was so
Like, why is
strange.
Weekend singing Blinding Lights in the back while यहाँ पे like 18th century warfare चल रहा है?
It was so strange. I was just about to ask my next question, like, what is your one big why with the show? And that's a good why. Why
It's a
is
good why. Like, wait, why we should watch it or why is this
no,
happening?
just like a why in the show, like throughout what that was the question you asked
Question
why.
mark. Yeah. I think like what is happening, and I think that's so important because mood setting is like the most basic thing you need to do in a show, and just
Yeah.
like confusing vibes was just like why
Why?
why is it confusing? Also, another why were the main kids of the
Houses.
magicians, why were they looking like idols? Like one, all of them it had short hair. Nobody else in Joseon Dynasty has short hair. They have short and like those idol hairstyle. Like Chaunwoo had Chaunwoo wala hairstyle. One of them. The other
One of
one
them
was
was
Sung.
blonde.
Yeah, one of them was blonde. He was Sunghoon from Enhypen. Like kya chal raha hai?
Yeah,
And
very that.
the direction, okay, it's really stupid because so blonde Sungun, there's a part where like these assassins invade the castle and whatever. And he's trolling, okay? Like he's like, Kam yahan chal raha hai. And then the assassin comes and then he gets into action. Bro, you know something's happening, like be on the lookout, okay? And this main girl, she's supposed to be the best assassin and best trained assassin in their entire country. She's so clumsy, okay? Like I mean, she can't walk without making a noise. Like जहाँ भी जाती है पैर टकरा जाता है तो मैं भी कर सकती हूँ ये. What is one thing that you would look forward to if you had to watch it? Or one thing you would change if you had to watch it?
One thing I would change is the writing for sure. I feel like the writing was
With changing her.
was definitely an afterthought. They sat down for months. They planned
Concept
the
है हाँ.
costume. They did the casting. They did the CGI. And they're like, "Oh, writing to bhul hi gaye, bro."
Yeah, I feel
Like,
like some of the action
"Khan
shots
pe
were
baith
just
ke hum lines likh lenge."
improvise कर.
Yes, and
For me, I think what I would look forward to, like, fine, whatever, first episode might not be the defining thing for the entire thing, but I would like a cool, like, teacher, student, like that kind of thing going on with where they grow while she teaches him. And if that doesn't happen, I'd be disappointed. But
like
I know there's so
yeah,
much
like Kung Fu
else going
Panda.
on. This they've established like so many plot lines now. I'm just like so much to wrap up, and I bet
There's
they
so
like
much to
leave
keep
some of them
track of.
halfway. Yeah.
And but like I think one of the big things with this is that it just reminds me so much of early 2000s bad, not bad, but like typical Salman Khan movies
Mm.
where the jokes are just really silly. Like there's this entire scene where he tosses like a trinket towards her, and when she goes to grab it, she
She
falls out
falls
of the
speechless.
window. And I'm very sure that I've seen like, one of those Tarak Mehta ka Ulta Chashma scenes, which is exactly
It
the same.
is
And
very
that just,
classic.
yeah, and that just takes away, like there may be good
Hmm.
things, like the ice fighting scene, while unbelievably long, was definitely a vibe. And then
Very
falling out of the
unnecessary
window
though.
to catch a trinket is another vibe. And they are both in the same
Hmm.
show.
That's in the same episode that like
Yeah,
20
yeah.
minutes apart. Hmm. True. I think for me, the weakest link is definitely the main actress. Like, they needed to cast somebody who could do a lot better than the person. In fact, the first actress before she dies, I found her acting to be relatively better, although she wasn't doing that much. But I think the main person they've picked is just like not giving at all.
So she, I've seen her in one K drama before this, where it's like, where it's, what is it called? For This Is My First Life. I mean, that's the translation in
Hmm.
English. And even in that, I thought she did a very paltry job. But I
Hmm.
assumed that was more to do with the role that she was playing. Like she was supposed to be the subdued in her 20s, newly married, and what seemed like an arranged marriage sort of situation.
Okay.
So I assumed it was to do with that. But watching her in this, I think that's just how she acts.
Yeah, it was just bad.
Now,
But
for the all important question, is it a
hmm.
K drama or a K flop?
It's a cave flop for me, but like a soft flop, where if it was playing and I had somebody to watch it with, I wouldn't mind continuing watching it. But on my own, I'm not gonna like after this is over, I'm not gonna sit and think about it at all. Like it's gonna leave my brain. But if
Mm.
it's there and it's playing, I wouldn't really mind because it'll be funny, but not because it's an interesting show. It's because I can laugh at it, not with it.
For me, it's 100% a K flop. I feel like if you've sat through this entire review, you are not going to be surprised by my answer. It, like, undoubtedly, it wasn't good writing. The acting's quite bad. There are good things, like I said, the cinematography is really incredible, and there
Mhm.
could be more to the plot that eventually develops and becomes more
Or maybe they
interesting.
get
But I feel
better,
like
like they change the director or something.
maybe, but like the way it has been built so far, it just doesn't feel like it's worth investing time in.
True.
This Watching Alchemy of Souls was kind of how it was for me to watch White Lotus. It's a very similar experience where everybody told me to watch it. It
I
was winning
disagree. I
awards.
think
Everybody said it was great and it was awful.
okay, but this had a lot more going for it. Like Alchemy of Souls was a lot more entertaining. Like White Lotus was boring. You couldn't call this boring.
I wouldn't call this boring. Yeah, I was watching
Hmm.
throughout. Like at no point did I was like, oh, might as well just scroll through Instagram, which I was 100% doing through watching White Lotus.
Yeah,
Okay, which
okay.
brings me to an important question. What would you compare it to in a Western show? Like if somebody's watched a Western show like this.
Like a goofy fantasy show. I don't think they have those. I think
Not a show
Western fantasy
necessarily.
shows take themselves so seriously. I think it's the other end of the spectrum where I haven't seen a fantasy show which is just fun. So I think,
Mm.
but this is like if you like slapstick shit and you like Lord of the Rings, then you might enjoy it.
Like what if you watch Lord of the Rings and you're like, want some comedy?
I think if you watch Korean variety shows and you enjoy that kind of comedy, I think then it is fine. Like if you watch like Knowing Bros and all of that, and then you might enjoy this. Or if you even like things like Vincenzo and you are into the idea of fantasy, because I don't think while the magical element is there, I don't think it's high fantasy. Like there's no not like dragons and shit there, right? Like
I mean, there was like the whole thing where the cloud dragon became the water dragon.
yeah, but they're not like fighting with dragons. Like you're not
That is true.
Daenerys Targaryen first of her name vibes.
But
So yeah.
that's what I would compare it to. I feel like they borrowed very heavily from different, very famous,
Hmm.
fantastical
If you
things
like
from the.
Twilight, you might like this actually.
Okay, I love Twilight, and I did not like it.
Twilight the movie.
Oh. So I feel like they pulled a lot from very many different fantastical things throughout. Like there were elements of Harry Potter in there. There was a lot of Game of
Hmm.
Thrones. There was some Lord of the Rings.
Kung
I
Fu
feel, and
Panda.
a lot of like Avatar, the Airbender. I think we kept talking about that.
That's true.
There were very
Kung Fu
heavy
Panda.
influences. Kung Fu Panda. Like there's this one scene that just looks straight out of the animation. So I think there are things that they've pulled from a variety of very popular fantasy shows and movies
Hmm.
from the West. So, like, if you go out seeking that, you may be able to find something to satiate yourself. But, like, yeah, there is the comedy to
Yeah,
live
and it's
with.
not funny. Have you seen this show? And if you have, please tell us. Because if you like it, tell us what you like about it. Or is there? It does it get better later on? We would love to know. But I don't think we'll watch it anyway. But tell us.
Yeah, leave a comment below. And before you leave the comment, remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you like this video. We'll be back with more episodes every week. And in the meanwhile, we also have reactions like the latest one we did for On the Street with J Hope and J Cole. Go watch it out. Watch it out. Check it
Check it
out.
out.
I was Zara.
And I was Sophia. We'll see you next time. Bye.